A very Merry Christmas to Chat with Chaps family. Hope you have a great one.
Hello, Mill fans. Paul Eiffel here. It's time for Chat with Chaps.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world over this festive period. Welcome to another edition of the live Chat with Chaps show. As you can clearly see, we are without regular host, Mr. Joe Zampa. He's off out for the evening. I've heard finishing lessons at the training ground, but he refused to comment and tell us what he was doing. But no doubt I will do my very, very best to emulate Mr. Zampa and do him justice, I hope. Alongside me this evening, we have the one and only, the man who's got more moves than John Travolta, Disco. How are you?
Brilliant, thanks, Stephen, and thanks for that lovely welcome. I was thinking of doing a David Ford tonight and doing a bit of double echo, but we'll leave that for another time.
No, if you missed the live Christmas special, what Steve is referring to, please go and check it out. It's a wonderful guest. It was really, really good fun to be involved in. So go and check that one out. We are also joined by the TikTok sensation at the club. Recently graduated and surely going on to bigger and better things. George, how are you?
I'm very well. That's the nicest thing that has ever been said to me, Stephen. I really appreciate that. What a great start to the live, mate. If there's ever a way to boost the ego, no, I'm just listening. Thank you very much. Pleasure as always, chaps. Pleasure as always. And yeah, looking forward to get into it after a brilliant victory yesterday.
Absolutely. And I did think that I needed to do that because, as you can see, guys, the comments are up on the screen. They'll be rolling through and they do slightly cover George's face. So if he sits one side, you can't see him. So we're hoping he goes the other way and we can see him crystal clear. And finally, our European correspondent, the Danish destroyer, who's very much into the darts this year. Jesper, how are you this evening?
Yeah, I'm good, Stephen. Was a bit nervous what your introduction would be. It's a bit like 8 out of 10 cats. You know, you don't know what Jimmy Carr is going to say about you before the show starts. So, but thanks.
Brilliant.
Looking forward to this one, last show of the year. So, yeah, let's get into it.
Absolutely. We will have something a little bit, I don't want to hype it up too much, but a little bit of a section for us to reminisce at the back end of the show. So guys, stick with us because I think it'd be quite cool to hear what we've got lined up for the end of the show. Just as regulars, we've got Jeff in the chat. We've got John, another donation. Thank you very much, John. Alex, Cole, George, Chris Brown, Dave, Jeff Cook, Husey, Mummy Jones is in the chat. Hi, Mum. Leslie, Anthony, Biggie, Bender Beaver, Anthony Smith, Des, Matt Wright, Craig, PS 94, Anthony again, Kenneth, Eli, London Lion. They're all already rated. Mark Murphy, Beeline, Andy Roberts. I've seen you in there as well. So we have a massive show for you tonight, as Jesper rightly alluded to. It's the last show of 2025. The Lions have ended the calendar year in pretty good fashion in terms of points gained. We'll look at very briefly the Ipswich result on Boxing Day. We haven't had a live since then. I know that there may have been other shows that have discussed it, but we'll have a quick discussion around that. Obviously, the big talking point, winning at the Den yesterday evening versus Bristol City. We'll get our thoughts on the game and some key players. We'll also look forward to January. January's just around the corner now, the transfer window. Long gone are the days of tweeting Alex Aldridge, any news on a striker. Now it just seems to be any news on anybody, but we'll see if we've got any news for you and a couple of rumours. But we'll get into it. We'll start with Boxing Day. George, I will come to you first. 0-0 against Ipswich on paper. I actually think it was quite a good result. What did you think? What did you make of it?
Yeah, I agree. I think a draw was a good result. I think Mill started the game quite well. I think we were on the attack, and yet Ipswich, with the quality of their squad and where Mill were quite depleted right now, I thought found their way back into it. And you're just looking at the names of the substitutes Ipswich brought off the bench. They really put on the pressure towards the end of the second half, and thankfully we held on for a draw and a clean sheet, which I think was deserved in the end. I think our defending, we had to soak up a lot of pressure. We had to sit really deep at times, and at times we struggled to really create a lot. In fact, we didn't create anything really. We didn't have anything going forward. We didn't produce any sort of attacking intent. But to come away with a draw against surely one of the favourites to go up and get promoted this season in Ipswich. I know they're sort of whereabouts where we are, but prior to the start of the season, you'd have said Ipswich were going to be one of the favourites. So to get a draw there, I think was a good result, all in all, and I think there were certainly some positives, and it also gave us the momentum to take that and build on it and take that into last night's game. So altogether, it was a good draw altogether.
Absolutely, and I think Jesper, if you sort of taken off what George said there, that the quality in the Ipswich lineup and on the bench compared to maybe what we had available to us, I think that's a clear sign that we've done really, really well, obviously prior to last night, to actually keep pace with the top six with who's actually been available.
Exactly. I was a bit worried after the Blackburn performance to see what sort of performance we would, how we would perform against Ipswich, but I thought it was a really good performance. I thought, first 20 minutes we could have nicked a goal. If we do that, it gives us something to hold on to. We don't. But I still think it was a very controlled performance. I don't think we were under massive amount of pressure. Yes, they did have a lot of the ball, but I thought it was a really, really good point, a really solid performance in terms of our shape and how we defended against a very, very strong side, who also beat Coventry yesterday at the Ricoh Arena. So they will definitely be up or thereabouts come the end of the season. So, but that's one thing I have to say. I think this season, anyone we play at home, I fancy us. Even I know we're down to bare bones in central midfield, but there's a good feeling at the Den at the moment that no matter who shows up, no matter who we play, and no matter who we play in our team, we can get something. So yeah, a very good point. And it could be a very valuable point come the end of the season as well.
Absolutely. And Steve, just to finish off really with Ipswich, as Jesper said there, it could be quite a good point come the end of the season. I think there's certain teams we might have played at the right time, and Ipswich were in very, very good form, have absolutely rocketed up the table. To get a point, I would imagine that they would fancy their chances travelling to most places in the country. So to get a point in the circumstances, it wasn't really the end of the world, was it?
No, far from it. Listen, before I answer that, can I just quickly say Anthony Smith is saying in the chat there that I'm a very able second place to Joe for his wife's attractions tonight. So I'll take that. Thank you, Anthony, and nice of you to make those comments. Joe sloppy seconds, dear me. What are we coming to? But yeah, look, I don't want to be wise after the event, but I suspected on the day that, look, it was a good point. And I think yesterday proved, with them getting that result at Coventry, told you it was a very, very good point. I think we may have benefited. I don't want to do us down. I think we may have benefited with Kieran McKenna having one eye on the Coventry game, because you look at the team he put out, maybe we benefited from that. But you can only beat what's in front of you. I thought it was a really dogged, strong performance, especially defensively. And let's be honest, a fraction of a quicker pass from Caleb Taylor, and we get a win. So, really, really fine margins, but the lads did us proud. I thought it was a very good point on the day.
Absolutely. And I believe that is our gaffer in the chat with Chaps, Stephen, you legend. So with the gaffer watching, and to make sure that we're shipshape, this is your call to action. There's 115 of you watching at the moment. If you could please like and subscribe. As you all know, everything we do on this channel goes towards cancer research. We all, across the podcast, guys and girls, appreciate all of the support that you show us. So every comment, every like, everything you can do. Sorry, Chris is now telling me I'm getting a pay rise. So happy days, Christmas bonus. No, everything you do is greatly appreciated. Please like and subscribe. And of course, thanks to our sponsors, Spectrum VR. Again, they donated a lot of money to charity on behalf of the podcast. So thank you very much for the support, guys. Moving on. So yesterday, Bristol City roll into town. looking like they're going to come battle hardened and ready for war, and bringing the whole of Bristol down on the motorway to come and make the Den some kind of war zone. I don't really understand what their manager was trying to do before the game. Steve, I'll come back to you. Pre-game, I was nervous. I thought Bristol City, and I think again in the game they looked very good. I thought they were a good side, and I think the game kind of went expected. We ebbed and flowed for a little while. We sat back probably due to the numbers and lack of energy that the players had, and it was a little bit of a struggle at times, right?
Absolutely. Listen, great win first and foremost, and I don't know if our friend Fevs from the Bristol pod will be looking in tonight. You know, interested to see his comments, to be honest. But yeah, Struber really sort of tried to stir it up a bit, didn't he? Bizarrely, you know, and we were saying before we came online, we're really in his head now, aren't we? We are living rent-free in his head these days. So he won't want to be facing us again in the near future. But no, look, really good overall result. Let's be honest, that sort of back end of the first half and particularly the start of the second half, it was one-way traffic. I just thought we were going to go to pieces. But fair play to the guys. You know, firstly, Alex made a tactical change, didn't he? I think that took a bit of a while to settle in at first, and that's what probably caused us to be on the back foot a little bit more. But once it did settle in, and particularly, as I say, when Ballo got more involved, we more than held our own. And much as we're being derived by Bristol fans as being a bit of a long ball merchants, I challenge you to look at that final goal, or the winning goal, and the build up to that goal was absolutely fantastic. Great ball from Neghli in, and then on from the BFS, and then on from Ballo. Not such a good ball from Danny, but it actually created a chance, and a great finish. Really, really underrated, great finish from Macaulay. So, yeah, look, we rode our luck a little bit, but isn't it good when you grind out results as well? How many times have we been on top in games and then not managed to get the result we want? So very happy with the overall performance and a little bit of adversity, you know.
Absolutely. And Mark, just to clarify, the 20% pay rise, we get paid in fruit pastels on Chat with Chaps. So it'd be an extra packet of fruit pastels the next time I see Chris. So can't complain at that. Jesper, coming to you. Obviously, it's really difficult sometimes, because I think that we've done plenty of podcasts and plenty of shows, and we've watched plenty of games where we've been pretty good and we haven't scored, and the opposition have gone up the other end and scored, and we've sat on here saying, "Oh, if only we could have found a finish. If only we had a striker." And yesterday, whilst at times it felt like perhaps we were sort of waiting almost for Bristol City to score, we've done exactly what teams have done to us, taken our chance when it's come along. It's quite nice to be on the other side of that, right?
Yeah, true. But as Stephen said there, the first 20 minutes, second half there, it was just a matter of time before the ball went in. You know, we were pushed so far back, and it was reminiscent to some of the football we used to play under Gary Rowder. So sorry, Gary, no offense, but it was just a matter of time. So for once, I was happy that Alex Neil made changes quite quickly on the 50. I think it was around the 55-minute mark. He already made the first changes. I think we went into another formation around the hour mark as well, and that, I think it took, as Stephen said, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, but then we grew into it. And Ballo, I think he played a really good game when he came on the last 20, 30 minutes. He ran the channels. We started to stretch them. We started to get the ball forward in the right areas, and it became a more even game. Had we not done those changes, I'm pretty sure they would have scored. But for all their pressure and all their possession they had second half, they didn't create much. You know, it wasn't many clear-cut chances. There was the chance after they scored with Armstrong when he broke free and then he hit the side netting. But I think we looked the more dangerous going into the last 20 minutes. And as you say, you need to score in your good periods. And they didn't, and we did. And, you know, Langstaff could have had another goal, actually, when it was, I think it was it Mihailo who got it on the right side and passed it in, and he just misses it by an inch. So great to see a reaction, because I was very worried after the first half, and especially after the first 15 in the second half. So yeah, as you say, you need to be good in your strong periods. You need to make sure you score. They didn't. We did, and that's why we won 2-1.
Absolutely, and we'll touch on individual players maybe a little bit more detail. But George, I'll come to you. Obviously, you have a little bit of insight into the press conference and what the Bristol City manager, some of the comments that he made after. But two almost, I don't want to say a couple of the Boo Boys' favourites, shall we say, in Macaulay Langstaff and Camille Neghli. Again, we'll touch on them perhaps as a bit more detail on each player a little bit later. But two players that perhaps probably needed goals. Certainly, I think Camille Neghli, as someone who's playing a little bit more football at the moment, it was quite pleasing that both of those two are getting a little bit of the limelight outside of the usual, your Tristans, your Femi Aziz and players like that.
Yeah, I mean, both players have been under scrutiny in recent weeks or recent months, should we say? I think Camille Neghli, certainly, if you just look on X or on Twitter, let's just say, he gets a lot of stick, Camille Neghli, and he's come to England and he's not quite found his mojo yet at Millwall. Obviously, there is a certain price tag which is sort of looming over his head, which comes along with it, but I think he's starting to find his way. I think over this Christmas December period, I think he's improved. I think he's starting to find his way a little bit more. And he took his goal really well yesterday. I mean, when the ball came into the box from Zak Sturge, it sort of fell to him, and he's made it look easier than it was because he actually doesn't have as much time. As he makes it look, but he slots it away really nicely. And it's just the same for Macaulay Langstaff as well, who I think he was unfairly dropped. I think he put in a good enough performance against Ipswich on Boxing Day to guarantee another start, let's just say. But then Alex Neil obviously came out after the game and spoke about how he just wanted to rest his legs and sort of manage his workload with another game in 3 days' time. And he came off the bench and again was really positive, Macaulay Langstaff. And he's a grafter. And so I thought he played really well against Ipswich on Boxing Day, and he deserved his goal. He deserved his goal.
Absolutely. And again, as we said, the Bristol City, there's a comment I'm going to go back to that from Mark. I think that BC got the result that Struber deserved. He has single-handedly created this situation and all the animosity that surrounds it. Sometimes people just shouldn't be a knob. And to be honest with you, you can't really argue with that. He's made the comment that in today's world with social media, videos, pictures, they get shared. Our WhatsApp group gets pinged all the time, doesn't it, with something that's gone on in the world of football, or usually the world of Millwall. So you can't get away from these things. And in all honesty, he didn't need to say what he did. He didn't need to make a big deal of it. And ultimately, he's made himself look even more stupid now with his comments after the game, right, George?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about pulling the lion's tail. I mean, you look pre-game with some of the comments Struber was saying, and Alex Neil, didn't have anything to say about the previous encounter earlier this month. And that sort of just shows really, I mean, you could argue that Struber lost Bristol City the game before kickoff, making stupid comments like that, because it just wasn't needed. It wasn't needed. It was really strange, I thought. And even his comments after the game. I mean, you talk about rent free. I mean, he spoke about it's really hard to lose again against Millwall before the game, saying how he needed as many Bristol City fans there as possible, remembering what they did to us last time. I mean, it's all just really, really strange comments. And he also spoke about how it was a cheap win for us. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a cheap win, Gerhard. I'd say we took our chances when they came. We took our opportunities as we came, and we won the game. Not many people are going to be looking at the performance in 6 months' time. They're going to be looking at the results. It's the points on the board what matters. And I think, all right, we will all admit, I don't think Millwall were at their very best last night. We were poor for a large percentage of the game. But we got over the line. Winners win, and we won the game at the end of the day. And it's 3 points. And just really, really strange comments altogether from Gerhard Struber.
Absolutely. And we're a football club that don't forget things. We never have. We don't forget players. We don't forget managers. We don't forget opposition fans that do things. And that will stick with him. He might come to the Den eventually at some point and win a game and get his moment and this, that and the other. But Millwall fans don't let him forget. Just quickly, very, very quickly, a shout out to Aldo Meza, 20, I believe that's Mexican pesos. Is that the currency of
dollars,
Mexico? Is it dollars? Mexican
Yeah.
dollars. Thank you very much. I'm not going to attempt to try and do the accent like Mr. Zampa would. We will keep an element of class to this the proceedings this evening. But thank you very much. Your donation is greatly appreciated. We'll look at the game in a little bit more detail and maybe focus on some players at the same time. Obviously, we lined up pretty much how Alex Neil has kind of set us up with the 4 at the back, sort of 2 in midfield, a 10, 2 wingers, and Mihailo up front. We'll start a little bit, Jesper, with Zak Sturge. I thought that Zak was having a pretty good season and looked to be very, very solid replacement for Joe Bryan. That we all thought that was going to be the change. He takes a knock at Portsmouth. Obviously, concussion. You never know how that's going to affect a player, and he's obviously had to take some time out and come back in. But for I think it was 60 minutes that he was on the pitch, and especially sometimes in that first half, he just looks woefully short of confidence, and I can't quite put my finger on what that might be.
Well, I can't tell you, but I thought
brilliant.
I thought to be fair to the kid, it's his first full season as a full-time pro in any league. He's only played sort of youth football and such at Chelsea. So I want to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's having a period now where maybe things are not going so well. But I think he actually did start quite okay yesterday in the first 15-20 minutes. I thought he brought the ball forward quite well. Then he started to hit some passes that went out. He didn't hit Marco, who was like 10 yards in front of him, etc. And then the wheels sort of fell off, and maybe that's when he started to get a bit shaky and low in confidence. He was also booked on a yellow going into the second half, so I was a bit surprised to see him coming out for the second half. And eventually he was then subbed with Joe Bryan, which I think was quite clever by Alex Neil to make sure he didn't get a red. But I don't think it was his worst performance yesterday. But I know where you're coming from in terms of mishit passes, and I think his positioning was also a bit out of place sometimes. I think the players also told him, you need to stay in our shape. You can't just go out of position like that. But I think it's a learning curve for him, and he's learning on the job. What is he, 20, 21 years old, and still a young kid, and I think he'll still be a very, very good addition, in the future. I think he is a good player. I just think right now he's just have a dip in form. Whether that's down to the concussion that he had or he got at Portsmouth, I don't know. But he is going through a spell now where things are not going as well as they probably did in the beginning.
And do you think, Steve, that perhaps where Sturge is concerned, that he might be potentially struggling with the amount of game time that he's being asked to play? Obviously, we've had our struggles with numbers, as it's well documented. We do have the luxury of having a few players that can play at left back, but perhaps because Joe Bryan has had his problems and Sturge has played maybe a lot more football than what he might have been, do you think that maybe coming into it, he's still adapting to being a first team regular?
Yeah, look, I'm sure it is. I mean, look, I sort of judge or think of myself as an average fan, and I think the average fan gets a bit frustrated hearing that, it's his first season, or the fitness levels are not right, or he's got some mental challenges with the pressure of the game. But I think the reality is, probably I have to man up, and the average fan has to man up and realise, look, that is reality, and it does have an impact. And yes, you do get these superstars who come on the scene and they just take to it like a duck to water and don't ever look back, whereas others, it is a bit more challenging. And I think one of the big things at the minute, and this is why we have to applaud Alex Neil even more than we already would do, he's just having to manage everybody's minutes due to fitness, or the fact that they're new players, they're new to the country, they're new to the league. He's juggling so many balls right now. But look, getting back to Sturge, let's be honest, he has gone off the boil recently. Started well, you're right, Jesper, yesterday. Started the game well. Great cross for the goal, to be fair. Really good cross. So give him credit there. But then some of his passing and his attempted tackling was woeful, and he was clearly not at it. Is it something linked to the concussion, as you say, Jesper? Who knows? But with that, you'd think they'd pick up on that in training, wouldn't you? But is that Is that, I think Alex said at the end of the game, he had to manage Joe Bryan's minutes very carefully. So was that a case of, actually, I'd probably like to start Joe Bryan, but I need to manage his minutes, so I'm better starting with Sturge and then swapping it? Who knows? But look, there's a player in there. I think we'd all agree that maybe we just need to give the lad a little bit more time and space to settle in and realise he's very new to us and the game, as it were. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think it's worth pointing out that you both mentioned it there, and George, I think this is probably the big thing for him. He's an attacking fullback. He clearly he wants to get forward. He's got a bit of pace. He's got his goal earlier on in the season. So sometimes, whilst I'm a little bit more old-fashioned and would like my defenders to be good at the back, and then if they're good going forward, then great. That's a bonus. But the goal comes from Sturge bringing the ball down, putting the ball into the box. Alex Neil is clearly an advocate of that. So whilst perhaps he might have been off the ball, he's obviously led to the goal, and ultimately that's what wins games of football, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's still a young lad. It's hard to forget, really. This is really his first proper season in men's professional football, because he only played, literally, I can count on one hand how many games he played last season for us, and then prior to that, he had a really short loan at Peterborough. So for his first season, really, in professional men's football, I think he's doing okay. And say Alex Neil likes his fullbacks to be attacking and get forward and get crosses into the box and try to contribute to as many goals as possible, which he's doing, because it was his cross yesterday, like you mentioned, for the goal. But he's still one for the future. I think you sometimes got to be a little bit patient with the younger players, especially for a player like him who's coming at championship level for a team fighting for playoffs, and I've been demanding really high levels. Fatigue, of course, where we currently don't have the options in the squad to sometimes rotate as well. I think he's doing really well. And we just got to take our time with him. But yesterday, he was one of several players who I'll say didn't turn up for the battle, and I'll call it a battle not just because of Struber's comments before the game, but there was quite a few players which looked off the boil yesterday, and I'm sure we'll get into those players in a second. But he certainly wasn't the only one.
Absolutely. And it's almost as if you've been reading my notes beforehand, because the next player that I'm going to come to based on the performance yesterday is Race Bangoura Williams. Of course, Race is a young player. We all on this channel have been very much pushing for him to be playing more football. It's someone that we just expected to see a little bit more of, I think, and it hasn't quite worked out that way. And in recent weeks, he's had a little bit more game time. Yesterday, he by his own admission, Jesper, tweeted that he was below the level, and clearly wanted to get that off his chest and say to the fans, look, I know that I perhaps played a bit poorly last night, and I know that there's more to come. What do you think it is with him? Is it that we're asking him to play a different role? Is it that we're so short on numbers and we're having to defend a little bit more that he can't play the way that he wants to? What do you think the issue is at the moment with him, and why it might not be quite working out?
It's a tricky one, because I don't think there's actually any issues. The way I saw the game yesterday was that he was actually, in terms of defending and in terms of being in our shape, I think he did fairly well. He did all right. It was just when he got the ball, he just looked so out of place. It just looked like he wasn't there. His concentration wasn't there, and he had so many mishit passes in the first half, and it almost seemed like the game went too fast for him in the first half, which was really surprising for me, because when he got the ball, there was a play at him, but there will always be in the championship. So I don't know. Maybe, again, a young player who's short of confidence, doesn't maybe trust his abilities at the moment, which he should, because he's a very good player. Whether there is an underlying issue is so difficult to comment, but I think yesterday is just one of them that you just want to say, right, on to the next one, because it was just mishit passes, and just got to the ball too late, and everything just didn't went his way. And you will have games like that. Fortunately, we had other players who played better than him, and he was also subbed, I think, after 55 minutes. So I don't know. I can't tell you if there's an underlying thing. I think this is probably the worst. This is probably his worst performance, that I've seen him play. And I feel sorry for the kid, because I really want him to succeed, considering what we saw last season, and how good he can be for us. So Yeah, I think he just needs to get his head down. Don't think about it too much. Keep doing what he's doing. He will get more chances, and just he will. There will be better times coming for sure. This can be a period just like Zak, where he needs to go through, learn from it, and hopefully he can improve from here on.
I'm just going to jump in there. Sorry, Stephen. I'm just going to jump in. It's like a lot of players, right? It's all confidence. Okay. You saw the first couple of moments he didn't get a lot of touches, and then he shanked one out of play, and then he shanked another one out of play, and then it was a poor pass, a missed pass, and then the crowd started getting onto him a little bit, and then from that point onwards, really, you see his confidence was shot to the bits, and then as soon as he didn't start the game, it sort of followed after that, didn't it? Really, and he didn't have a good game at all. But say he's young. Go on, Stephen.
No, my point was literally just going to be much like you said, George, that Zak Sturge is struggling a little bit with perhaps being a younger player, playing more football. He's adapting. Bangoura Williams is in the same bracket. We all thought when Romain Esse left, who was the next star boy going to be. Bangoura Williams come in, looked $1 million in those first few games. He built a partnership with Ivanovic. It just seemed to be everything he touched turned to gold. It's not quite gone that way for him at the moment. And is it simply, Steve, a case of that he is just going through a bad spell? And in your opinion, would you perhaps loan him out in January, or would you persevere with him and try and build that confidence within rather than kind of send him out to find it? What do you think?
Listen, that's a great question, isn't it? And I'll be honest, this last night I was saying, I think somebody in the group put in that maybe it's time to get him out on loan. And some people will say, you're bloody crazy. One of our best potential players, giving him out to someone else. But he does need to build his confidence and play regularly. So without being too much of a politician's answer here, I'd say it really depends on is he in Alex's plans to be in the starting 11 or the starting squad every game when everybody's fit? If he isn't, as he wasn't earlier in the season, then I think, get him out on loan for the benefit of him, not for us. We will benefit in the long term, but for the benefit of Rays, without a doubt. I think what I'd like to say is I think I was really disappointed with him last night, really really surprised. A couple of things on it, I would say, is first and foremost, what I loved about him when he burst on the scene, why I thought he was going to be really special was because he hadn't had a natural sort of development as a youngster. And what I mean by that, he played non-league, hadn't he? We picked him up through he'd been at different clubs and not made it, been let go, and then he was at non-league, and then he came into the club at really a latter age, in the way that it's done these days. And I just thought, hearing him talk in the early days, he seemed mentally strong. And I thought, that boy's going to be a success because he's not only got talent, he's mentally strong. I'm not saying he's not mentally strong now, but he's definitely, as you say, George and Jesper, his confidence looks shot. I mean, the first 15, 20 minutes, he was awful. I mean, he was, as you say, George, giving the ball away. He couldn't pass to one of our players. It was embarrassing. And he's not busy enough in the game, is he? He's not getting busy. And look, Macaulay Langstaff has now become a bit of a favourite, with nothing really more at first of putting a lot of effort in, really running around like a bit of an headless chicken at times, but putting effort in. And I don't think you see that. Now, I'm not saying that's Race's game, but maybe a little bit of that would help his situation. However, I will say, Joe, if he was on this show, who we all know is a massive fan of Race, and rightly so, would argue he did a very defensive job yesterday, particularly on night. There was a little bit in that. I think Joe's over-egged that a little bit, but there was a bit in that. He is trying to do what he's being told to do defensively. So I'll give him that, but it is affecting his forward-thinking part of the game. But the other thing is, and this is a whole different show probably to debate it, I don't believe we play a system that supports an attacking 10 role. It just doesn't. And so that's not going to help him either. So I'd rather have another midfielder who can bomb forward as and when he's needed, So I feel for him, all those factors but we cannot get away from he's not producing right now. And he has had a decent run. He's had a good few games, which I always felt he needed. And it's probably got worse, not better. But look, it could just click. He could have a game, and we said it a few shows ago, there'll be a game when he just absolutely bosses the show. And it'll come, but whether it'll be, in the next few games or whether it'll be elsewhere first, we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely, and I think we've kind of said that about a few players, and Ivanovic being one and Langstaff being another. That we're just looking for that bit of confidence that can really drive a player. Maku is another one that perhaps we all felt needed a bit of confidence. I think Bangoura Williams falls into that category. For what it's worth, I think the time is now to get him out on loan. We didn't learn the lesson with Idemo Maku. I think he certainly needed to be out on loan early doors in his career, and I think Race probably would benefit from that. But it will benefit him first, as you said, Steve, and then in the long term, it will benefit us because he'll come back having played first team football. Moving on to, perhaps we'll move on to some more positive players. We've been a little bit negative with the first couple that we've gone to there. A player, one of our own, Billy Mitchell. I know that Disco is a huge fan of Billy, and I think all of us are now, myself included, are really starting to see the benefits of what he brings to the team. Firstly, to anyone in the chat that isn't aware, Billy was taken off yesterday as a managing minutes precaution. We're led to believe it's not to do with an injury, so we're not thinking that there's he's out long term or anything like that, or there's another knock. He had to come in against Blackburn and play 45. He had to play against Ipswich. He had to play yesterday, so they are kind of phasing him back in. But George, what a difference it looked. Our midfield looked having him on the pitch compared to when he was off the pitch and replaced by Ryan Leonard.
Yeah, I mean, Billy Mitchell is so important. I mean, it was like night and day, wasn't it? Really, it was like complete night and day. And I think a lot of that is because Ryan Leonard's having to do a job at centre midfield. Well, I know that was naturally his position when he came to the club about 6 years ago now. But he hasn't played there for so long. He hasn't got the mobility. He probably hasn't quite got the legs either anymore to play a centre midfield. And then it was almost like night and day. And then started the second half. We completely lost the midfield because we weren't pushing up to their sixes. And Alex Neil then had to tactically change it from that point onwards. But of course, Billy came off at half time just because of a precaution, like you said, just to save his legs. But it was like night and day. He's so important. I think he showed a different type of composure in comparison to, I know Kasper could do that job, but in terms of Ryan Leonard and even Dougherty, who's playing there currently, he shows a different type of composure on the ball. He's always looking for the ball. The only thing maybe you'll ask from Bill is that he can add goals to his game. Only the one so far in his Millwall career, and it's important that we get goals from midfield, something which I think we're probably lacking this season. But aside from that, he's so important to our midfield, and he's not injured. He's not injured, so he will play against Southampton on New Year's Day. And yeah, he was very integral to everything we're doing currently, and he has to be because he's our only fit midfielder.
Absolutely, and it's perhaps the first of many, or it is many that will be coming back over the coming weeks. I think Billy Mitchell certainly, if we had all of our players available, Steve, if all of the midfield were available, Billy's name probably is at the top of the list as who would be starting. You would imagine it would be him and Kasper De Norre. So to have a first choice midfielder, at least somebody there that Neil would go to under better circumstances, it just looks good. Everyone us as fans look at it and go, right, we've got Billy back. It just breeds a little bit of confidence, perhaps into the players as well.
Yeah. Listen, I think the most important thing is I sense Alex Neil rates him very, very highly. The way he talks about him and lauded him in the last few games, and rightly so. He was okay at Blackburn in a really poor performance. Very good, I thought, against Ipswich, and very good again last night. Is it just me? Am I going back to my average fan situation here? But is it a bit weird to have 45 minutes planned for his third game back? I don't know. Am I being a bit unfair? It seems
I think
a bit
it's because,
strange.
yeah, it's a bit. I guess it's because he's just come straight back from injury, and because we don't have any other fit centre midfielders, Alex Neil has to play him rather than
Yeah.
easing him back in. So then he's had to play. He's had to play. Who did we play? We had Blackburn, then Ipswich, and then last night. So he's had to play 3 games in a row there. And I know he got taken off 60 minutes in the previous 2. I just think he's just managing legs because we don't want to get another injury. So I think it's really just that simple. But
I think that's where your Steve. I think that's where your sports science team come into play here in terms of what can he produce the next game before it gets critical in terms of him potentially getting injured. So I think that's what they do. You know, like you said about Ipswich, they had also a different squad coming out for our game compared to how they played yesterday. It's all about managing minutes when you're playing 4 games in around, 9-10 days. It has to be, otherwise you can get absolutely screwed in terms of injuries.
But
yeah, four games in 11 days. It was.
Look, I
11 days, yeah.
100% get that, and I quite like the precautionary thing. And actually, you've triggered in my mind. You wonder whether this is the first example of help me out here, Johnny, funny name, who's just come in to do the Northeast. Johnny Northeast sounds like a superhero, doesn't he, or something? But maybe that's his input, saying, "Listen, you want to manage his minutes. This is how you do it." It just seemed a strange to predetermine 45, because if you get to 45 and he's playing a blinder as he was in a tough game, and all the stats are telling you he's fine physically, to then say, no, we're going to take him off. But look, like you say, maybe it's the bigger picture, and especially with the current situation, I get that. Yeah, look. But look, it worked out great, and well done, Billy. Long may it continue. Yeah.
I also think, and perhaps this is where it might change in the new year when players come back. Someone might be able to correct me if I'm wrong here, but we don't really play many under 21 games over the Christmas period. I haven't seen much in the way of them getting any games at all. It seems to go really, really quiet. So usually when a player comes back from injury, they would get 60 minutes in the under 21s. We saw it successfully with Danny McNamara, who's now making the first team squad on a regular basis. Do you think, Jesper, that perhaps if we had those under 21 games, that Billy might have had maybe some minutes there that perhaps then would have seen him be able to play more than 45 in the first team, and then leading on to January when the likes of, say, Kundal and Kasper and Mazu Saku come back, they will get that game time and that opportunity to play minutes in the 21s before being chucked straight into the first team?
Well, Billy just came back just before the Blackburn game, didn't he? So I don't think he had much time to play any under 21 games. He was chucked straight in, and I think if he could have avoided it, Alex Neil, I don't think he would have played at Blackburn. But because we're such short in numbers in terms of central midfielders, he had to sort of. So with Billy, I don't think he had the opportunity to do that. So I'm just happy right now that he's not injured. Touch wood, going into the Southampton game where we really need him. So yeah, no, I don't think he could have. Maybe other players can in terms of going into January, because we got fewer games in January as well, and they could potentially, like, your Kundals, your Del Boy, your Kaspers, who's coming back most likely from injury, could play some under 21s if we had games in January. But as you said, I don't know how their schedule is and when they play and when they don't. So, but it would have been good if we had games in January for those players.
I think everyone's kind of said, haven't they, that we all know that he was forced basically to play in the Blackburn game. We didn't really have much choice. We needed to have someone in there. It was a poor performance. I don't think that was down to Billy at all. I actually thought he was probably one of our better players, but we've just kind of we've dealt a hand that Neil is kind of saying, look, I just need anyone, just get me a fit centre mid, and I'm gonna have to play him. And that's, I think, going back to the performance yesterday and stripping it all back. Bristol City fans were saying that we were one of the worst teams in the league. How have they beat us twice? All these comments. And if someone put a list up, I haven't got it to hand, but someone put a list of all the players that we've got missing at the moment, Steve, and it's quite incredible that we did hold on yesterday, but it's incredible that we are able to, when all of these players and Billy himself, they're forced to play. We haven't got any choice.
Look, you can't compliment the players and Alex Neil and the coaching staff enough to be 5th place at the end of this calendar year. And with the injury list that we have now, all clubs will say, we've got this player injured, we've got that player injured. I'm telling you, I'm pretty confident nobody has got the level of and the number of injuries that we have to key players and for the length of time that we've had them out. It's absolute testament to the guys. And listen, add on to that, we've just been saying there's 2, 3, 4 players in a game not actually playing to potential either. And we're still grinding out results like that yesterday. It's absolutely phenomenal and does inspire you to think, oh my God, when we do, I mean, I think it was Flacky32 said earlier, 5th place and we don't even know our best 11. And he's right, isn't he? We don't. One because they've not been fit, and 2 because we've not been able to put a settled team out as such. So he's absolutely. So it's phenomenal that we are where we are. And can I just say, look, it is linked to that. The point made by London Lion there about it was Steve Gallen who said in his interview that the international breaks can hinder or can contribute to injuries. What do we think about that? Because that struck with me. I thought it could be an excuse, but that could be something in that stop-start at the beginning of the season. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think they already looked at that, the structure for the internationals. I think they actually want to extend now the period so they play maybe 4 games at a time instead of 2, which means that you will have less periods of internationals. But when you do have them, they will be longer, which could maybe benefit the clubs as well, as you say. But again, I guess it has to be tested. But I think it's up for discussion now, actually, because as you say, you play 3 games and you go away, then you play another 3-4 games and you go away again, which could have an effect. But it's not, how would you say, scientifically known if that's the reason why players get injured. But it's up for debate. I've seen it somewhere, so it could be changed down the line, I guess.
Absolutely. I think that the international break is always going to be the time of year, isn't it? We all hate it. Well, I do. I hate the break. The thought of an extended one is absolutely horrendous. But if it means, we might have a little bit more luck with injuries, or if the powers that be think that's the right way to go, then so be it. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I'd like to move on. I'll go back to a comment from Bender Beaver. Neghli, by the way, my man of the match, looked electric first 15 minutes. That ball into Ivanovic for the second goal too. Phenomenal stuff. I'll start with George, but I'm gonna say something that I might cough a little bit here. I thought Neghli was pretty good in terms of his work rate. I think he worked incredibly hard. I think there was a tackle he made in the first half where he sprinted back sort of 40, 50 yards. And you don't expect that from that type of player, an attacking player that does the dirty work. I still think, personally, I'd like to maybe see a little bit more quality on the ball from him. But we just saw yesterday, didn't we, George? He took his goal, as you said earlier in the show, very well. The ball into Ivanovic that led to the second goal. Again, that little bit of quality. Whilst the effort is there, and he played in about 4 different positions, don't forget, if we see that quality a little bit more on the ball, you can then start to justify the price tag and maybe get a little bit of the flack off of his back, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the bottom line is with money comes expectation, right? So Cameron Neghli was bought for record money in January out of nowhere. And with that comes a certain level of expectation with the fans. I do agree. I think his work rate has improved over the last couple of games, and I think it was especially last night as well. And I think one of the issues fans have been having with Cameron Neghli is on the eye, he looks a bit weak. Physically, he looks a bit weak in the challenge. Sometimes he might bottle the odd 50-50 here and there, but certainly his work rate has improved. And yesterday, like you mentioned, that standout moment, it was in the first half where he sprinted back after the ball was lost and then put in a tackle to win the ball back. He played 90 minutes. Did he play 90 minutes yesterday? He did play 90 minutes yesterday.
He did.
Did he?
I think he did, yeah.
90 minutes yesterday, which shows that, in a really busy Christmas schedule, he's got the legs to play the full game. So it was very good, Neghli. It was very good. It just needs to gain a little bit of consistency now and add some more numbers. which is ultimately this is what we're in now, right? It's all about numbers in this modern day age where you have to contribute with goals and assists. And I think with the expectation which has come with the price tag around him, you expect a little bit more numbers next to his name. So hopefully he can kick on now, as well as improving his work rate, of course, which is looked there or thereabouts in the last couple of games.
Absolutely. And I think, Steve, you touched on earlier that we don't really know or have the nous to play with a proper number 10. Our setup doesn't really suit a 10 as such. Obviously, that was in relation to Ray's Bangoura Williams. However, Kamil Neghli probably falls into the same category because he probably does want to play in a slightly different role or a slightly different position, and he's having to adapt and play. As I said yesterday, I think he played wide left, wide right, centre mid, and then in the 10. So he's been asked to do a lot of different things. And again, perhaps someone who's come to English football, probably told you're going to be playing in X position, and he's been asked to do a number of different things that perhaps don't always suit his game.
Yeah, definitely. That seems to be the case. But I echo George's comments there. The guy is clearly trying or looking like he's trying a lot harder than he necessarily has done previously. He's trying to contribute to the team in whatever role he's given. Interesting. Again, it's all, a lot of the game is played up here, isn't it? And seems to me a guy that needs to be full of confidence to be playing well. And I think somebody in the group, might have been Bex, said earlier that it was noticeable when the final boards come up for the substitutions, which forgive me if I'm wrong, I think it was Ballo and was it Dan? No, Danny was already on, whoever it was, Macaulay was it? I'm not sure, but anyway, 2 came on, and that meant he wasn't going off. And apparently from that point, his body language changed in that I'm on for the rest of the game. And actually his game went to another level as well. He seemed to get a second wind, is what I'm saying. So again, a player that's probably playing on confidence, and it won't be lost on him, some of the boos and jeers and moans and groans that he's getting, and the club that has been mentioned there. I mean, I don't know about you. Do we believe what Alex said about his running stats? I don't know whether that's trying to make a player feel better, but look, I don't knock him for doing it, but yeah, look, still a lot to do. You're right, George. The price tag hangs heavy around his neck as well, from our point of view. But he is improving, and hopefully that will continue.
And on the subject of numbers, whilst you were discussing there, George and Steve, I quickly had a look at what we've got there, and I'm assuming your laughter is at the comment. Question for Stafford: do you think Disco could make the squad right now? Well, I've never seen Disco play football, but with our lack of numbers, I think if you've got a pair of boots in the cupboard, Steve, I think you'd certainly get a go on the bench, off the bench.
You saw Ray. We're all saying Ray's had a terrible game yesterday. Well, let me tell you, I am a million times worse than Ray's Bangoura. So I won't be making any squads quickly, that's for sure.
There you go, balanced by the man himself. Obviously, still on Kamil Neghli, Jesper. I looked at the stats. So he's played 24 games this season, and I believe that is in the Championship, and that's obviously either as a sub or starting, however they just start. So 24 games. He's got 3 goals.
15 starts. Sorry, I just
15 starts.
Yeah.
So 15 starts. You've got 3 goals and no assists at the moment in the Championship. Now his goals have obviously, he scored at Norwich with 1. He scored the winner against Watford. He scored against Bristol City and 1. So he's scoring goals in games that are earning us points. But do you think that it's a case of, dare I say, Femi Aziz is producing sort of big numbers and has got a lot of praise on his back? If Kamil Neghli was in the same kind of bracket and had the same kind of numbers as Femi, do you think we might see a different player, or is it just simply that he's still adapting? Is it a case of confidence or adapting?
I think it's a case of both, really. I think when he first came, I think his first game was against Leeds, wasn't it? I think he looked quite promising, technically very good. He didn't look out of place playing at Ellen Road. And then, unfortunately, he got injured, didn't he? The next game we played against Crystal Palace in the FA Cup. I don't know if he played a few games in between, but then he was out for quite a while, came back for the Borough game, scored the goal, got injured in the same game, and was out, until the summer, and didn't have a proper pre-season, as I remember, was still out for a few games. So he's had a tough start in terms of his injuries, and he came out, he said himself, I'm never injured. So this is really surprising to me. Luckily, again, touch wood, he hasn't been much injured since the summer, which is promising. But it could be a case of a slow burner coming into a new league, having to adapt to a new life. He's a young kid, he's coming from Holland, and sometimes players need a season to really settle in. I think yesterday was his best game that I've seen him. I thought he looked stronger somehow. He looked more tenacious. Didn't lose the ball. Linked up quite well with Kramer in the first half. Good goal. And what I really liked about the second goal was that he dropped his shoulder. He didn't just pass it. He could have passed it out wide easily, as we do. And I think that's probably the issue with our team at the moment is we're quite easy to read in terms of how we play. We get it to the full. We our centre back plays it to the full back, plays it up the line. We try and do something, and it works sometimes. Sometimes, like Sturge did in the first 10, 15 minutes, drop your shoulder, move the ball forward 10, 15 yards yourself instead of passing it, because it gains an extra player as well. It gains an advantage, going forward. Suddenly you have an extra player. And that's what Camille did with the goal. He turned the player, moved inside, really, really good pass into to Ivanovic, who then played it out to Danny Mack, who played a terrible ball in, but it ended up in the back of the net. But that's what I want to see sometimes from our forward players, that we don't do the usual thing, so to say, that we drop our shoulder, we try and take a man on, we try and get them out of shape, because it's so easy for a team to move from side to side and defend. And sometimes you need to do some of the unexpected things. You need to play one-touch football as well, even though I know we're Millwall, but you need to do that to create a moment of surprise, like Femi, for instance, against Southampton. Quick 1-2, suddenly, do we go forward? Do we press? Do we move up? Scores, brilliant goal. So going back to Neghli, good game yesterday. I hope he's on the path to improving even more. And just on the price tag, he's an expensive player for us, but this is the market nowadays. It's not an expensive signing in terms of what other Championship club spends on their players. So I feel for him in terms of the price tag, because it's a lot of money for us. But we also have to remember that our most expensive player a few years ago was Paul Goodard in 1990. So it's all putting things into context sometimes, I think.
I think that's a key point. Ryan Leonard and Tom Bradshaw, when I think we paid both £1 million for both of them in the same transfer window, and they come with the record signing, and they didn't hit the ground running straight away, felt the pressure. You've had Zian Fleming, admittedly come in and did very, very well, but there's always when they do have a bad game, these players, there's always the hint of, well, we paid big money for you. We expect. Some days I think we expect miracles, because we, as a club, we don't spend the money. And I think Neghli does fall into that category, that we just expect to see a little bit more from him because we've paid bigger money for him. I think eventually, I think other players will come in that we might spend more money on, and it might help him because that kind of weight will be off of his shoulders. But I think certainly the numbers do need to improve. However, whether or not Alex Neil was playing a little game, media PR as we like to call it, and boost the confidence of a player. If that is true, which I can't see why Neil would make that up, but if it is true, then it certainly goes to show that he's at least understanding what it takes to play for Millwall and moving in the right direction. And I don't think we can be too disappointed with that. Guys, we are just
Stephen,
about to hit.
On that, sorry mate, but can I just quickly ask, were you surprised that he took that free kick ahead of Doherty in the first half? Was it the first? Yeah, it was the first half, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think he took one in the second half as well. I'm not sure if Doherty was still on, but I think Ivanovic was sniffing around that one. But yes, I was quite surprised, because I think Doherty certainly comes in with the reputation of a set piece specialist. So clearly, Doherty was overruled. I would imagine on Thursday, if we get a free kick and both players are on the pitch, I think Doherty will go, right, you had your turn. Your turn against Bristol City. I'll have this one. But again, that could be a confidence thing. That's him turning around saying to a senior player, someone who's played in the Premier League. I want this free kick. So I see that as a good thing. I'm sure Alfie will beg to differ, but certainly
he didn't make an issue of it, did he? Which is good as well. There was no tantrums. It was obviously agreed, but it surprised me. I thought it was made for Doughty, that one. Although Neghli scored against Watford, didn't he? So I suppose.
Are you talking about the one in the second half which hit the defender flush in the face and he was the only man in the wall? Was that the right one?
No, I think that it was the first half. There was one in the first half. Yeah. Which again went straight into the wall.
Yeah,
same thing.
But guys, we are just about to hit the hour mark. According to my screen, there's 239 of you watching across, I think, YouTube and Twitter, or X, if you will. So please like and subscribe. Another call to action. I'm sure you get sick of us saying it all the time, but it really does help us, and we do really appreciate all of your support. I can see at the moment, I think there are 38 likes at the moment. So guys, please do your best to get that number up just a little bit for us. Thank you very much. Macaulay Langstaff. So Macca come in, big reputation, scoring goals. Was it going to be too much of a jump last season? He's been, I think, mistreated perhaps with his lack of playing in a 2, being asked to play wide left, not really getting an opportunity. I don't think there was anybody in the ground yesterday or watching at home, George, that wasn't absolutely delighted for Macaulay Langstaff to be the man to score the winner yesterday at the Den. Obviously scored the winner at Norwich that got us going early doors, but yesterday I felt was a big moment for him, and I thought it was really nice that all the players, barring Crocombe obviously at the other end of the pitch in goal, they all come round to the huddle. They all were there for him. I thought that was quite telling.
Yeah, you got to be delighted for Macaulay Langstaff because he's been used to scoring 30 or the season. He's come to Mill when he can't hit a barn door down. But no, I was delighted for him because he's a grafter, Macaulay Langstaff. He always gives maximum effort. He gives 100% every single game, even when he comes off the bench. And he's only given a couple of minutes, and he's been really unlucky. And I mentioned it in the show earlier today, but he was unlucky not to start because I thought his performance against Ipswich on Boxing Day probably warranted a start. But he came off the bench yesterday, and his overall impact was very good. I think he did really well at getting Millwall up the pitch yesterday. Even if it was just dribbling 30, 40 yards just to get us up the pitch. I think generally speaking, his hold-up play and his touch and stuff like that is improved. It's just in front of goal is where you want to see. It's what you pay the money for, right? It's what strikers are made of, goals. And thankfully, he got that deft touch late on in the game. Acrobatic finish, we'll call it an acrobatic finish, as the ball sort of spun up and then he sort of just fell over and his right foot sort of just hooked it into the net. But you got to be delighted for him, because if there was ever going to be a way Macaulay Langstaff was going to score, it was going to be like that. But I think he'd earned his luck. He's earned his starts now, and there's no doubt he will be in the team against Southampton on Thursday.
Absolutely, and I think just to touch on what I said, I don't know if you guys have seen this. This was sent to me during the show. Alfie Doughty has posted a picture on his Instagram, on his story this evening, embracing Macaulay Langstaff, shall we say, with the caption, "Always hold something special to you." So I think that it's not just the players, but that it's not just the supporters and us on here that could feel that it was big for Macaulay Langstaff. There we go. George has got the post there himself. The players clearly can see that Langstaff is trying really hard in this team. He is giving us everything. It's not quite worked for him, and he's been asked to play in a number of roles that he might not wanted to do, and he's just getting on and doing it. And all he wants to do, you can tell, all he wants to do is score a goal, and he's got a big one yesterday. And I think it's just a testament that the players are trying their best for him. They want to see him a confident Macaulay Langstaff, and I think that's quite telling in this squad, right?
Yeah, I think they want to see all the strikers score, but I think the goal yesterday was fitting in terms of how he's performed in the last couple of games. And as George said, it's probably, if you look back at some of the Notts County goals he scored, this is probably the type of goals he would score. But take nothing away from it. It's a terrible ball in. Sorry, Danny, from him. that sort of bounces up in the air. But it's great awareness to first of all see where the ball's going to land. It hits the ground before it touches it, and then whip it over the goalkeeper. It might look accidental, but when you're a fox in the box, this is what you do. This is your bread and butter. He knew exactly what he was doing, and it was great awareness. He was quicker than the two defenders and the keeper to get it in the back of the net. So, it might be a tap in, but a really, really great goal. Could have had another one, as we said in the beginning, when Mihailo played it in. Great run to the front post. He just misses it by an inch. That could also have been, but the thing is, with our team at the moment, we don't get many of these sort of chances where we break down the sides, play balls in, or we set our strikers up in a position where they can sort of tap it in, or with the first touch. We rarely do it, and I think that's why he's struggling, and that's why our strikers are struggling as well. And I think in general, that's why our teams are struggling to score goals. 27 goals, sat in 5th position. It's quite good, but it's still a concern for me going into the second part of the season that we're scoring such few goals. But going back to Maka, he's done well. Another example of what you can do if you get your head down and you keep going and you keep going. You don't listen to all the noise around you. He's done very well to get it back into the team, because I still have my concern about him. He's not. I think he's turning 28 next time, isn't he? He's come from lower league level as well. I think he's only played League 2 before he came to us. So to do what he's doing at the moment is actually quite remarkable in terms of just I'm just going to get my head down, do what's best for the team, and just keep going. So I'm really pleased for him that he got the goal yesterday and the 3 points.
Absolutely. And Steve, much like we discussed on Race Bangoura Williams, there's been some noise that both Stevenage and Swindon are looking at taking Macaulay Langstaff on loan in January. Obviously, they're playing slightly, obviously lower down the football chain, should we say, perhaps a level that might be a little bit more suited to him. Do we think that there might be a hint of truth in that, and Langstaff is playing for his place at the moment? Do we think that Alex Neil wants to keep him around? What would you say is that, what in your gut feel, what would you say is the kind of short-term future of Macaulay Langstaff at the moment?
Well, look, before I say that, there was a comment in there, Jeff Cook, saying that I wasn't too bad a player when I played, but only when he used to feed me from midfield. Well, thanks for that, Jeff. But I would like to say his balls were like Danny's were last night into the box. I always had to make something out of nothing. But look, that's by the by. And look, does that count as an overhead kick for Macaulay last night?
We give it to him. We give him
an overhead scissor kick. Yeah, brilliant. But listen, it's amazing, isn't it, how things change? Look, I'll be honest, a couple of weeks ago, I would have said to you 100% he either goes out on loan or even gets sold in the window. One, because he's just not, I still believe he's not quite at championship quality. But also surplus to requirements, even though we're down to the bare bones. I'm talking about, no doubt, we'll be looking to get fresh faces in, etc. But he's really put it in the mix now, hasn't he? He's showing, hang on, I've got a role to play here and I want to play that role. And it doesn't have to be just a central striker or a striker in a 2 or a 1. I might be able to play a little bit wider, etc. So, look, there's going to be many, many moving parts this January. I honestly wouldn't look, is there truth in the rumours, Stephen? Absolutely. Whether it's those clubs, I don't know, but there will be clubs who would be very happy to take him from us in January, because look, everybody wants a goal scorer, and much as he's not done it for us, he definitely is a goal scorer. One, he hasn't had a chance, and 2, I think the step up in level has been a challenge, but 100%, the biggest compliment I can give him from me personally was I was actually really gutted and disappointed that he didn't start yesterday, and surprised after his performance against Ipswich. However, Alex again clarified that in his post-match interview, didn't he? That it was part of the plan, and yet again managing minutes for players, which is fair enough. So listen, well done to him, and look, Macaulay, please keep it going, mate.
Can
Absolutely.
I just add? Sorry, Stephen. Can I just add? It's also again about the age thing. Sorry, if the listeners are listening, my dog has started to eat now around 9:15 around here. So if there's any noise in the background, that's him going berserk now. Just so you know, it's not me. But this might be his only shot to play in the Championship. We're saying Stevenage is lurking. We're saying Swindon. That's League Two. It's League One again. He doesn't want to go back there. He wants to prove to himself now that he can do a job for us here. And maybe that's why he's putting in the extra effort as now to see I can cut it at this level, and maybe what he did previously doesn't work for us now, but he finds a different way to make sure that he can be important for the team. And I really admire that when players, they step up and say, right, I can't do what I'm usually doing, so I'm going to do, not just what the gaffer says, but more than that, to say I belong to this team. So full credit to him, and I just hope that he keeps going, really.
Absolutely. And I think, look, we could spend all night talking about all of our players and the roles that they have and the good things they do, the bad things they do. One thing about Macaulay Langstaff for me, and I did want to bring this into the show, and there's been a couple of comments about another player in Mihailo Ivanovic. I think the 20 minutes or so that Langstaff was on the pitch, Mihailo Ivanovic yesterday looked very, very good. His work rate, his movement, his battle, he looked a different player. He looked absolutely revitalized. I know he didn't score. We're not talking about he's like Mbappe or anything, but he just looked a better player by having a partner, someone up there, up top with him. Obviously, we said he put the ball across that Langstaff was unlucky not to score. He had the chance where he broke through and probably should have done better rather than hitting me up the top of the cold blow lane. But he just looked a better player. And I think that the two of them together, I don't know what you guys think here, but the two of them together could forge a partnership that they can help each other if they get a little bit more of a chance together. I don't know what you guys think on that.
Well, it's like a big man, little man partnership, isn't it? I mean, we've had plenty of them over the years, haven't we? So Ivanovic has always played better as an all-around package. He's always played better in a two, right? You think back to last season when he was getting majority of his goals, he was up front in a partnership with Coburn. Majority of this season, he's been up front on his own, where he's so isolated, don't get anyone around him. And let's not forget, he's a young player still as well. So he really, I think he does struggle up front on his own, but he's sort of having to play there because Coburn's been out injured, and then questions of whether or not Langstaff is good enough to play every single week, start every single week at Championship level. So he has been really unlucky, Ivanovic, in that sense. But as a whole package, I thought he played really well against Ipswich on Boxing Day, and I thought he played well when Langstaff came on last night as well. As a whole package, he's definitely better in a forward too, which is why I think going forward you have to play with, whether or not it's a 5 at the back or whether it's a 4-4-2, you've got to play with 2 up front with Ivanovic, and for the time being, Langstaff next to him.
George, does it have to be a front 2, or could it be this elusive, genuine attacking 10 that we keep talking about? Would that, do you think that works with Ivanovic? Could
do. I mean, that's the debate, really. When looking back to Boxing Day, was Langstaff more as a 10, or was he more as a front 2? I think it offers flexibility. I think that's what it does do. Having Langstaff being able to drop slightly deeper into a more creative number 10 position, it means you can tinker tactically and flexible. It's very flexible like that because you can, tactically tinker with it. But listen, there's no doubt we need to improve our forward line. We need to go out in January, and we need to invest in a striker if we're serious about a playoff push. But for the time being, Macaulay Langstaff with Ivanovic, whether or not it's 2 up front or whether one slightly deeper in a creative number 10, is certainly the way to go for the time being.
But can I just say something, Stephen, about the number 10 as well? We say we play 2 up front. It works for Ivanovic, and it has done. But I think the issue we have with our number 10 is that when we do play number 10, which we do the majority of our games, is it becomes too stationary. I used to play football, not at a high level, but I actually used to play either the number 9 or the number 10. We used to sort of, change however the game would went. Someone would drop, the other one would go up. What I would like to see sometimes is I would like to see our 10 get in behind. When Ivanovic is played, to his head, to his chest, I want to see the 10 going in behind, making runs in behind. He's always so stationary. He's always positioned between our striker and our 2 midfielders. That means it's so easy for their midfielders to close him down and basically isolate him, and he's not in the game. So I want to see runs in and around our strikers, because that also means that allows more space to Ivanovic as well. when you don't make the runs, it's so easy to defend. And I think that's our biggest issue at the moment. Our number 10 is not utilized well enough. And it doesn't matter whether you play Neghli, RBW, Luke Kondo, Macaulay Langstaff, or whoever plays in there. It's just the way we play or the utilize number 10 or not utilize them is a huge issue, I think. And it's probably also the reason why we're struggling maybe to create so much sometimes up front.
Absolutely. And I think the comment that was made in the chat, and forgive me, I can't remember who it was, who said that we don't really know what our best team is. And I think that falls into that category, because if we did know what our best team was, we would be playing to a certain system, and then each of the players would know their individual roles. They would know what they're expected. Okay, it's obvious if Mihailo is going to be playing as the number 9, his job is to score goals, but it's who's going to get the ball to him. How are we going to create chances for him? And when you're having to consistently chop and change the team, I do think that does come into the equation. But you're right, Jesper, that I think that our movement, and there's more than one way to skin a cat, shall we say. You have to be creative in finding a way to score goals and create chances. As I said earlier, we could go on and on about all of the players, but one that I did want to bring up, and it will lead nicely into the next part of the show where we look ahead to January, is Max Crocombe. Max is probably playing the longest run of games at the highest level that he's ever played at. I know he's an international goalkeeper, but again, I don't know what level and the opposition that he's played at for New Zealand. But he's been in the team now for quite a while, probably since the international break back in October. I think QPR he come in and he hasn't lost his place since. Yesterday, Steve, I thought that he probably should have done a little bit better for the goal. I think being beat at his near post, he would be very disappointed with that. And there was a couple of crosses that he come for that he dropped, and it just looked a little bit shaky. There has been talk in the press that we are after, I believe, a young goalkeeper or looking at another young goalkeeper to bring in. Is Max under big pressure and scrutiny at the moment?
What was that Polish lad's name that we were looking at?
Slavomir.
I was hoping, there we go. I was hoping one of you could bail me out.
Good man, Jesper. Can rely on our European correspondent there. Brilliant. But yeah, look, I'll be honest, I'm hoping that's true or something similar, not to be too derogatory to Crocombe or any of the other keepers. But obviously with Jensen potentially being injured a lot longer now as well. But look, I think Max is doing a really decent job for us and a pretty reasonably solid performances, and certainly have no desire, with the greatest respect for Bender, to come back in. So, there's your compliment. The downside is, look, yeah, he has looked on occasion a little shaky. I think the goal last night, I agree with you, Stephen. I think he'll be disappointed getting beat on that inside post like that. I think the player... This is a bit unfair to the Bristol player, but it's fact. Because he pushes the ball wide of himself, I think he strikes the ball a little bit straighter than normally he probably would have put it closer to Crocombe, just to hit the target. Might be doing him an injustice, and he'll say, no, I was going for that bottom corner. I would say, bullshit, mate, you pushed it out too wide. But a great finish. But the keeper should be stopping that, or certainly get a hand to it at this level. As you say, he dropped a couple of crosses, didn't he? And he didn't look good. The one that he was unlucky for was when it wasn't a foul. Actually, our player pushed their player into him, and he milked that for a couple of minutes, which I think took the sting out of Bristol a bit. So that was good. It's the second time he's done that, which is he's quite match savvy to play us back into the game. But look, if I'm really honest, if we had a chance of getting a decent keeper in, I would do it. And I think as a club, it's going to be quite a ballsy decision, and quite, you're going to upset, if you like, if that's the word, potential other players. But I think, if we're really serious, what do they say? A goalie could be worth 10 points in a season, a really good goalie. So second half of the season, that could be 5 points. That's
But
massive.
Stephen, just a quick question: would you bring him in now in the January transfer window? We always know it takes time for a new goalkeeper to settle in with a back four that he doesn't know. Would you take the chance and bringing him in now, or would you do it in the summer?
No, I think we need a top-notch keeper now. And to that end, I'd probably go loan rather than buy, where you're getting a proven goalkeeper. He won't be available, but like Travers he's at Everton now, is he? In number 2, you won't get him. But I'm saying that type of ilk, a keeper that you can be pretty confident he's going to come in and hit the ground running and make a big difference. Like I just said, could be 5 points. Imagine what that is come the end of the season. Huge. So Crocombe's doing all right. Even if we don't change it, it won't be the end of the world. But if we're really serious about going up, a real top-notch keeper would be. I wouldn't be against that at all.
So my gut feel, George, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but my gut feel is that they banked on Jensen being okay, coming back unscathed, playing him in as many of the 21 games as possible, getting ready for Burnley in the Cup, which is not this weekend, next weekend. You would have seen him play in that game, and it would have been an opportunity to say, right, Stephen Bender, thank you very much. Maybe look to terminate the loan, free up a spot. Crocombe would go back to being the number 2, and you would have the keeper that they paid what we think reasonable money for us to bring in last year and go back to the number 1. The fact that Jensen is now out, we believe, months, in Alex Neil's words. So again, we're now in a position where it's Crocombe and Bender, competing for that number 1 spot. Has that changed? Is that why the news of a goalkeeper perhaps has come out? Do you think it's changed, or do you think that Crocombe perhaps still has the backing, and that link is perhaps it's an easy link because everybody knows that our first choice goalkeeper is now injured, so it's an agent talk trying to drum up some business?
I think so. I definitely hear what you're saying. I think there wouldn't be these links if there wasn't some sort of reasonable truth behind it. I do believe that Millwall rushed Lucas Jensen back. I know it's a different type of injury. He had a calf injury before, and now he's picked up a hamstring injury, I think I'm right in saying, or a thigh injury, I'm not sure. But yeah, for sure. The club definitely banked on Lucas Jensen to be fit, certainly before the end of the season. Hence why we didn't really take the goalkeeper position too serious in the summer transfer window. And Max Crocombe has done a solid enough job for now. I mean, listen, his story is actually remarkable, really. I don't think anyone expected him to be doing as well as he has, because it's the highest level he's ever played at. He wasn't originally the number 1 at the start of the season. It's only because Bender was dropping stinkers left, right and centre, and ended up getting injured, where Crocombe has now come in and he's actually done okay in the grand scheme of things. He's done okay. But if we are, like Steve said earlier, if we're serious about pushing for a playoff push, should I say, we're going to need probably a better goalkeeper who could probably just get us over the line in games, or win us the occasional point here and there, or the occasional 3 points. Because no disrespect to Max Crocombe, because I really respect his story, but he's not quite there. Let's be totally honest with you. And the club definitely banked on Lucas Jensen to be fit before the end of the season, and unfortunately, that's not quite worked out. So I can see us getting another goalkeeper. I can see us doing that.
There's a couple of comments saying perhaps we have other priorities, which we will come to. We will move on to shortly, and I think it's correct that we do have some priorities. Yes, but
yeah,
I'm going to put you right on the spot here.
Can I just answer that? And look,
yeah.
When I'm saying that, I'm being greedy. I potentially want a keeper and all those other priorities, because I think this is our opportunity. So just to be clear, that isn't instead of a striker or a midfielder or right back or whatever position we need. Sorry, just wanted to clarify.
No, I agree. I think as long as, if we are going to bring in a goalkeeper, it is in addition to, not in place of. I think that's the key thing that we're saying here. But yes, we're going to put you right on the spot now, so I do apologise. You're just fine. The unlucky one I'm coming to now. Can Millwall make the playoffs if Max Crocombe is our goalkeeper between now and the end of the season? Does he have enough to see us stay in that top 6?
Yes, he does. I think, as someone said, I think we need to look at other priorities. if we just take the goalkeeper that we're linked with, and I don't know where these links come from, but you know Transfermarkt, I know Transfermarkt. You go on there, links can be fairly reasonable. You got club like Roma, Udinese in Italy looking at him. Apparently, somewhere in May, June this year, he's valued around 4 million euros. Is that what we're going to go and spend now on a goalkeeper in January? I don't think that would leave much budget, to sign other players. So is that the amount that we would spend on a keeper? Well, knowing that will be our fifth goalkeeper if you take Lucas Jensen, Steven Bender, Max Crocombe, and Joel Coleman. Then we got 5 goalkeepers with a new one coming in. Obviously, I don't know the loan deal with Bender. Can we send him back? Maybe there's an agreement that we can terminate the loan deal. Maybe there's a chance we can do that. But I think we need to look at other priorities first, and I would definitely say a striker. Ivanovic is running on fumes. I would still say a right back. We said it from the beginning of the season. I want another right back because it could really make us a better team having a really, really good fullback as well. I know Kramer's doing a really good job. It only takes an injury. It only takes a suspension. Then we're down again, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but then we're down to Leonard. We're down to McNamara. They don't bring the same forward play as Kramer does. Central midfield, I'm going to be quite honest and say, I don't think we should sign many, maybe a loan deal, but we have players coming back. And even though we've had everyone out for there's been 2 weeks where everyone's been injured. I don't think the same thing is going to happen again later on the season. It's bonkers that you have 9 players injured at the same time in the same position. I mean, when was the last time that happened? So I wouldn't necessarily go out and spend much. Maybe a loan deal, a wise loan deal, but I would also look at the wingers as well, because I don't think they're bringing in enough to the table at the moment. I think we need more goals. So around 3 positions I would be looking at. The goalkeeper wouldn't be my first priority, to be honest.
I think talking about the other positions, we've obviously been linked with, I believe it's Cody Drama at Hull, right back. He has played predominantly Leeds, Cardiff, I think, Luton. Birmingham. There is another club. That's it, Birmingham, and now at Hull. Played 40 games for Hull since 2024. So obviously he's played a lot of football. Hull are competing with us at the right end of the championship. So it's not like we're looking at a player that's playing at the dregs of the division or lower in League One or something like that. So there are names that are starting to be that filter through. There's been promise of signings coming in early in January. The noise that's come out from the club that we are looking to have faces in ASAP. I think they're very much aware that we've got some big games in January after the cup tie. We play Watford, Charlton and Sheffield United and Coventry, I believe, in a short space of time. So faces are a must, Steve. In your opinion, if you had a wish list, you've already said you're a bit greedy and you want a goalkeeper in addition to where are you looking? What's the positions for you?
Look, just answer that question you asked, Jesper. Can we get into the playoffs with Crocombe in goal? Yes, we can. We're 5th place halfway through the season. So yes, we can. I'm just saying I think we'd have an even better chance. And who knows, potentially even top 2, although that's a bit extreme. But you never know. 5 points, a top quality keeper could get you. That's massive in this second half of the season. So that's it. So it's not the priority. Priority, without a shadow of a doubt, is a striker. At least one striker, by the way. I think like Jesper says, probably an attack-minded midfielder or winger, preferably with a bit of pace. I do think we should be looking at a right back. Kramer stays there for me all day long, but say it very quietly. If Kramer gets injured, Jesper has guaranteed us now that we won't get anywhere near the amount of injuries in the second half of the season. Sadly, I'm not quite as confident as that, but you should be right, Jesper, and God, please hope we are. So that would be mine, but a keeper as well. But look, you're right, Jesper. That's made my toes curl. The price you said there of that Polish lad. I mean, I don't know how proven or unproven he is. That's a lot of. That is a project. I'm not looking at a project. I'm looking at a, top-notch keeper guaranteed. So like I say, probably Bender going back if he can, and getting a loan from a Prem or something like this. And I'll say it again, if Travers was available, something like that would be phenomenal and would make a huge difference. But if we only got one, it would absolutely be a striker. But look, first and foremost, the club have promised. Steve Gallum went online, didn't he, and said early in January. Well, you can't call mid-Jan early. So that to me is next week. Next week we need to get a couple of oven-ready players to come in, not just come in and be in the squad and have to get up to match fitness. They're oven-ready to start games. Whether they start or on the bench, they've got to be ready. And then I'll be surprised if we don't bring, like last season, and I know I'm being greedy, 4 or 5 in total. There'll be outgoings, but I'll be surprised if we don't have 4 or 5, bought or loans.
The first two has to be by Friday, right? They have to sign Friday. Then the early signings Friday. We can't
even
expect
better.
less.
I'll give them till Monday. Yeah.
Announced after the game Thursday. Straight away at full time, we announced 2 signings.
They'll be on the bus at Southampton.
Absolutely, yeah, in the stands.
Yeah, in the stands.
I'll come to you next on the subject of transfers. There is a comment from Husey. What if ... Kramer goes for big money? I'm led to believe from a reliable source, which is Mr. Zampa, that at a game earlier on this season, he had a very deep conversation with Mr. Fairbrother, and the topic of conversation was, and alongside Jimmy Berylson, was that if the club were in a position that they could realistically achieve the top 6, that there wouldn't be anybody sold, and it would be a case that the manager would be backed for us to an assault on the top 6 and really push on. If we had faltered by that stage, and bear in mind that this fixture, it was the Oxford fixture, so it was quite a while ago now that we played them. If we had faltered and dropped down the league, then perhaps there would have been a conversation made about players. So we are led to believe that the club are not looking to sell anyone. Now, of course, everybody has a price. If someone come in with £20 million for Tristan Kramer, the club are going to go, thank you very much, au revoir, and go and get someone else to cover him, get the long list of other targets out. But we're led to believe that nobody is going to be sold unless it's perhaps an offer that can't be refused. With that in mind, George, we're talking about incomings. We're talking about positions that we might need to strengthen. We've spoke about a goalkeeper, a right back, a forward, creative players. Do you see us spending a fair amount of money in the transfer window, or do you think that now is the time that the club will perhaps look to utilise the loan market a little bit better than perhaps what we have done in the last window, and look to bring in some attacking players from perhaps higher above?
I like to think that the club will show ambition. I like to think that there'll be a magic pot of gold with a bunch of money in it to go out and to buy players. And I'm not talking about assets. We mentioned, Steve mentioned earlier about project players. We're not talking about assets. We're talking about oven-ready players, which are going to be able to impact the starting 11 right now. You'd like to think that the club will show some ambition, because this is one of the best championship seasons we've had since for ages, really. One in my lifetime, certainly. Anyways, one of the best championship seasons we've had. You'd like to think that this is the season. This is the transfer window where we need to go for it. We need to go for it. Again, where is there the money there to spend? You'd hope so. I'm not in the know, but you'd like to think that the club will show ambition and go out and buy players which are oven ready in positions which are a priority.
Absolutely, I agree. I would like to think. I know we know what has been said by people at the club and comments that have come out in videos, but I would like to think that in the last couple of seasons we've been in good positions under other managers and even Neil himself to really go for the top 6, and we've been let down a little bit in the January transfer window. I would like to think that the club are going to give Neil the best opportunity, and and say to him, look, we're going to back you as much as we can. That doesn't put ourselves in trouble, but we're going to give you that support. Now kind of go and make it happen type thing. So and I expect that to be the case. I don't want to get too caught up on transfers because apart from the keeper and Cody Drama, that they're the names that have been linked quite publicly with us. There will be other names, there will be other positions that we're looking for. So as and when that kind of comes through, we can perhaps talk about them at that time. But I'm sure there's a wish list of players that I think the lad at Huddersfield who's on loan from Chelsea. I think he's one that everybody's talking about. There's no rumours or there's no link as such. No one said that we're in for him, but there's a lot of people that are putting 2 and 2 together and trying to come up with the answer. But moving on
Steve,
to
sorry.
Is Ollie Burke off the agenda this year?
Hey, he's got a Bundesliga hat trick.
I think he's living his life in Berlin now. He came from Bremen to Berlin now. So I don't think he can be in a better place in terms of his social media life as well, playing for a small club there. It's perfect for him. So,
Dear.
long gone.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't mind that pace, though. Wouldn't mind that pace.
No, and he does have a hat trick in the Bundesliga. So, you never know. There was hope for him. There was hope for him yet. We've reached the end of 2025, guys, and I think it's safe to say that the club have moved on leaps and bounds in this calendar year. We sit, if you take from January the 1st, 2025 to today, obviously there's no more football in the Championship. The Lions sit second in the league for the most points accumulated in the calendar year. Coventry are walking away with it. They've burnt 92 points. They've been absolutely phenomenal in 2025. But the Lions are second with 76 points, 5 points ahead of Bristol City, obviously, who we played yesterday. So Alex Neil has done a absolutely remarkable job since taking over the club. I think there was a period of uncertainty. We all felt it when Neil Harris left and unsure on what was going to happen with SA and things like that. And Neil has come in and absolutely steadied the ship. Guys in the chat, this is for an opportunity for you guys to get involved now. So I'm going to ask, I will start with Jesper. What has been your moment of 2025? Obviously, it's the last show of the year. We don't have any more fixtures. So guys in the chat, get your moments in. It can be personal. It can be a goal. It can be a game. It can be the fight at Bristol City. It can be whatever you want it to be. But what has been your moment of 2025? Yes, but I'll start with you.
Well, unfortunately, I turned 40 in August, but that also meant that I had the pleasure of spending my birthday at the newly renovated 1885 club, which was a really brilliant day. I had 2 of my best mates coming with me, and they said it was such a nice experience. And the surroundings, the staff, everything except for the result. Unfortunately, it was the Middlesbrough game. We lost 3-0, but we had a really, really good day. We did the Bermondsey Beer Mile afterwards. It was such a brilliant day. So that has to be the one for me. It's a personal one. I'm pretty sure there's others football-wise, but that's the one that stands out for me in 2025.
Well, I quite like the personal ones because everyone has a game as a goal, but it's quite nice that there's something that's personal to you. Unfortunately, the result obviously didn't go in your favour.
No.
But obviously, sometimes the memories that you make following the club sometimes maybe just trump the day itself. You look back on it. You look back on it quite fondly.
Oh, it was
Jules,
a good day, yeah.
What would you say is your Millwall moment of 2025?
Well, in terms of a Millwall moment, I've really got 2. Not to be greedy here, but I've got 2.
That's fine.
The Millwall moment has to be for me the game which stands out the most was the Southampton game. I know it was obviously still very relatively fresh in the moment, but the whole game was always an absolute cracker. It was a brilliant game of football, and to score a last-minute goal against an informed Southampton team, it sold out then. It was brilliant afternoon. But a personal one for me as well. Go back to the start of the year when we actually played Dagenham and Redbridge in the FA Cup. And for me personally, I don't know if I can read this Millwall channel, and I was actually technically working for the opposition that day, but just to be in and around it, I was able to go on the pitch beforehand, and I was doing social media content and stuff like that, and it was brilliant. The whole experience, and it means I've sort of been able to climb the ladder even further since. So that was for me personally, just to be in the tunnel before the game, to be able to be in and around the players, the manager, to be on the pitch, etc. It was a special moment for me. So I'd say personally that game, although for a lot of people it was a bit of a nothing game, but That would be it.
And again, it's brilliant having a personal, moment to look back on. Obviously, I said it at the start of the show. I think, growing from what you do with TikTok and everything, it's your passion. It's what you want to do. So to have a memory of like that from where you perhaps were to where you are today, it's nice to be able to look back on very fondly from that point. Steve, coming to you. What is your moment of 2025? You can have 3 if you like, seeing as Jesper had 1, George.
Shall I be greedy as the elder statesman on here tonight, or the elder statesman in the group? I'll tell you what, I will have a cheeky 2 like you, George.
Okay.
Sorry, Jesper, but look, just one that's come in my head first and foremost. Look, genuinely, and I know this might come across a little bit cheesy, and that's not my way or aim, but genuinely being part of this pod over the last calendar year. No, but as a guys, isn't it? It's been absolutely fantastic. The money that's been raised first and foremost, the friends that have been forged, and look, the listeners that tune in every week and have a bit of banter with us and a bit of fun. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's transformed my involvement with football, and particularly Millwall. So that's a huge thing for me, and I hope it goes on for many more years. Hopefully in the Premiership next year as well. Let's wait and see. But will we be the first ones to be able to take us into the Premiership as well? But from the footballing side of things, slightly different. I like to think about it. There's so many great football moments from throughout the season, and I agree, George. Southampton was pretty special, and Caleb's goal was superb, and Alex Neil running down the line, etc. But for me, go right back to the first game of the season. We go away to Norwich, that has been a club that has been the bane of our lives for many years. 1963, year of my birth, I think was the last time we apparently beat them. I don't remember it, luckily or unluckily. So we went there full of hope, full of optimism, thinking, are we catching them on the right day at the right time with a new revitalised squad, with a great manager going back to his old club, And when Macaulay Langstaff slotted in that late winner with a great ball through from Doherty, wow, that was some celebration. And the fans that were lucky enough to be there, well, superb. And I think, much as we've had some ups and downs through the season, that really set us on our way and gave us a lot of belief for this season. And I think it'll hold us in good stead as we go forward as well. So Macaulay Langstaff scoring at Norwich.
And then Norwich, they lost 7 on the bounce at home, didn't they? And then we thought, we're not that special.
Trust me though.
I wasn't going to mention that.
Trust me though. My best mate is a Norwich fan. That is it. I'm having a great season as a Millwall fan, but as having a mate who's a Norwich supporter, it's absolutely brilliant that started all that off. So, guys, we've had some brilliant comments. We've beaten the Saints 3-2, Crammer winner, giving Caleb Taylor a big hug in the 85 when they sent him up to the lounge after the Southampton game. That's brilliant, Des. Barry taking part in the club's Remembrance Day match was epic and a proud moment. Absolutely superb. Aziz Screamer v West Brom, the fight at Bristol City. I'm leaving out a comment from Jeff Cook, but there's a reason why I'm leaving that out, because I will come back to it. Roger, as I was finance director at the Royal British Legion, I was amazed again at the amount of money collected. Bender Beaver, Lenny last minute v Crystal Palace. That was unreal, by the way. That was absolutely incredible. I'm going to have 2 as well. My moment has actually been kind of said twice in the chat. I'm going to come back to that, but I'll in footballing terms, not to piggyback on the back of what Steve said, but from away from the pitch moment for me was the charity day that we held at the ground as part of the podcast. I'd never done anything like that personally at the ground. I'd never been involved in it. Obviously, Chris, a friend of mine, I obviously joined the podcast a bit later than some of the guys, but I was very, very keen to get involved with the fundraising. So for me, that day was brilliant. We raised a lot of money. We've done something amazing as a group of Millwall fans. As Steve said, we've made friends along the way, listeners that listen to us all the time, but we've done a great job for for cancer research. As it was announced on the last show, we've raised over £18,000, and that continues to grow, and that's down to you, the listeners. So thank you very much. That was a really, really successful day, and thank you to everybody who donated. We do have our next one. It was again announced on the last live by Paul Ifill. Norwich on Easter Monday is the Chat with Chaps collection day for cancer research. More news will come out. All of the info will be across the socials, so please keep an eye out for that. And my footballing moment of the season is, as Jeff Cook mentioned, Lee Cavella and Bender Beaver, the minute at Burnley when Ivanovic put that ball in the back of the net was the limbs at the goal was absolutely incredible. We all believed. My phone, I'm not joking, my phone blew up of people going, you're going to do it, and then I had to text them back literally 60 seconds later saying, oh yeah, Burnley have equalised. But the scenes at Burnley, we went there with a little bit of hope. We needed a bit of a miracle, but when Ivanovic scored, it was absolutely incredible. And I know that people, Southampton and things like that, but for me, that goal was absolutely superb. It's what we follow the club for, that hope and belief. And unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. But hopefully, this year coming in 2026, perhaps Mihailo saving a special one for perhaps later on in the season, and we can have that moment again. Alex MFC, you have just gone right up in our estimations. Moment of 2025 has to be Joe Zampa's miss at the Den. Unfortunately, Joe has deleted the file off of what we used to record these, so I cannot show it, but I will rectify that and get that for you guys again in the new year. We won't let him off that lightly. But Alex, you have right up here, comment of the night. Well done. Guys, we are now an hour and 45 minutes in. I am going to try and do, just for Joe's sanity, he hates it when we go over the 2-hour mark, so I'm going to make sure that we don't go over that, because it does drive him absolutely insane. Thursday, 2 days time, the Lions travel to Southampton. First game of 2026. Bit of a tough start to the calendar year. Southampton obviously having a little bit of a revival, although not quite in the same form that they were perhaps when they come to the Den, the game that we've all been talking about earlier on as our moment. Steve, I'll come to you first. Can I have your thoughts on how you think the game might go and a prediction, please? And guys in the chat, if you can get your predictions in now, and we'll go through those as well.
Yeah, listen, tough game. Obviously, we know it's tough, but I say on here very often, I like going to grounds, especially away from home, when, well, it would be away from home, wouldn't it? But when we've got a record of getting a result. Maybe not every time, we do win one, lose one, but it's not good when you go somewhere where you never get, like bloody Blackburn, dare I say. But look, we've got results at Southampton on many occasions, and recently has been great for us. So I don't think it's a bad time to be playing them either, because obviously great result at the Den and a great moment, as we said, but also from that game, they then appointed the manager, and in true fashionable style, I don't think he's won a game since they actually appointed him full time. So look, I'm not. I think they might have won one, but I'm not underestimating how hard a game it will be. Could go either way, but I tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised with Aziz coming back, and there was a bit of debate, does he go straight in the team? 100% for me, straight back in the team with a lot to prove, and he'll be desperate to impress. I've got a sneaky feeling we might go and do a cheeky 2-1 away win again. Look, I'd be happy with a draw, but I think we're on a roll, and I'm starting to believe we'll have ups and downs, but this team can do something special, and it's games like this that could make a big difference. So, yeah, go on. Ball's on the table. Cheeky 2-1 away win with Aziz and Ivanovic to score.
George, can you follow that? Are you going to keep the positivity up? You've got to remain optimistic, haven't you, off the back of a win? You've got to remain optimistic. I'm going to go with a 1-0 Millwall win. I think Southampton, say Steve mentioned there about their current run of form not the greatest since they appointed their manager on a permanent. It seems that their what do you call it, manager bounce has sort of faded away. So I'm going to go with a 1-0 Millwall win. And I'm not going to go Adama Maku like Mill 1885 said in the chat. I do think he'll come off. I don't think he'll start. I do think he'll come off the bench and potentially make an impact. I am going to go with a Macaulay Langstaff goal. I'm going to go with them to follow up, and he's going to get 2 and 2. So I'm going to go with a 1-0 Millwall win.
Oof, lovely.
Okay, Jesper, so it's up to you now. Are you going to stick with this positivity, or are we coming crashing back down? Or what's your thoughts?
No, I don't think we will come crashing down. I always go with my gut feeling, and we have a tough schedule. We knew after the Blackburn game we'd had 4 quick games in succession, and I always said, could we get 6 or 7 points from these 4 games, stay in and around the top 6? That would be brilliant, considering the amount of players we're missing. My gut feeling tells me a 1-1. I think we can get something there. Like you said, like they had a manager bounce, after they got rid of Will Still, and they hired this German guy. I think he was their youth coach somehow. They haven't been getting the results lately, and I already read somewhere on X, I think after our game, that some fans, they were a bit like, oh, here we go, starting to see, there was some unrest about that. Oh, is he the real manager? Do we need to employ him for full time, etc.? They've done that now. They haven't won in 4, and I know what you're going to say now. Oh, now they're probably going to beat us. I just don't feel that's the kind of season we're having. I think we can get something, but we need to be at it. Femi will go straight in. We need him. He has to be full of energy. He has something to prove now. That was a silly mistake, but don't forget all the work he's done in the previous game for us, and the important goals that he scored for us. Funny story that someone mentioned that Skienza didn't play against us, and he's their best player. When you look at his rate, he's 27. He's only played in the second best league in Germany. Then he had 1 season in the best league in Germany. That was for Heidenheim, which is probably equal to something like Hull in the best league. And they signed him for 9.5 million euros at 27. It's a funny, he's a Brazilian, but he's played most of his career in Germany, I think from around 18, 19, but only in the second best league. He's even been on loan to the third best league. And then they go and sign him for 9.5 million euros. He is a good player, but it's weird like how a career can go sometimes. It's just like he hasn't been tearing it up at Dortmund or Leverkusen or, these famous teams in Germany. He's come from nowhere. And suddenly he's one of the most important players at Southampton.
Amazing.
So just goes to show that sometimes you spend money on some. We talk about the Slavomir now in Poland, coming in, maybe being first keeper according to Transfermarkt. You never know what you're going to get for the money that you pay. So, but anyway, just to finish off, I think it's going to be 1-1, and hopefully we can get something for the Swansea game. And from that point on, we got 14 days after that one before the next league game, and hopefully we can then get bodies back and hopefully a couple of signings as well.
Absolutely, and I see George will get 5 in the
on the same day
in the chat. Hopefully, I don't care who scores, but if he's going to post it with a Maku, if Maku scores, I'm sure you'll take a post online. I'm sure you're not going to care. Oh, you might be muted, George.
There we go. Sorry, he's a good mate of mine. So we have like good back and forths on TikTok quite often. So he's a big fan of Adama Maku, whereas I sometimes say, he needs to go out on loan, and he's not doing this and he's not doing that. So anyways, yeah, but we'll see.
I'm going to go with I'm more in, I think, George's camp. I think if we're going to win the game, I think it's going to be tight, fair. I'm going to go 1-0 to the Lions. I certainly think we're capable of going there and getting a result. I think Femi being back in the squad is just going to lift everybody. He should be fresh. He should be raring to go. So again, it's just a boost for everybody. Our best player, if you will, based on ability, based on the season. So big boost for everybody. It won't be easy, but I think we are capable of going there and getting a result. However, I will curb that with, if we come away with a point, I won't be too disappointed. That would still be a great way to start the season, going into a home game against Swansea. So, but I'm still going to stick my neck out 1-0. And I think we might see, dare I say, another Camille Neghli finish to win the game. So I'm going to back Camille I've given him a lot of pelters over the last month or so, so I'm going to try another tactic and support him a little bit rather than get on his back. Guys, that's the end of the show. Thank you very much for joining us this evening, or if it's morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Alex, I did see a comment about winning the Boxing Day test, but Joe Zampa bans us from talking about cricket in the Chat with Chats WhatsApp group, so I can't say too much. But yes, we did win the Boxing Day test, so anything is possible. Guys, I will go round, so I'll start with Jesper. Any final words for the show?
As Stephen said before, I just want to say thank you very much for having me on. It's such a pleasure being on. We don't have many fellow Millwall supporters over here, so for me to come on here and ventilate and talk to you guys has been absolutely brilliant for me in 2025, and I hope it continues, as Stephen said, for many, many more years. I want to wish everyone a happy new year. It's been a fantastic year in terms of football-wise. I think we're on a very interesting path right now and journey, and I think we're only going to get better as a football club. Personally, I'll be over for the Charlton game, so I'm really looking forward to that. That's in around 3 weeks' time, so it's going to be a cracking one. Sold out already. So, and usually my statistic goes loss, win, loss, win, loss, and the last one was Middlesbrough. So you can guess what the next one's going to be. So,
he said it now.
Hopefully,
said it now.
Yeah. Setting up for failure? No, I don't hope so, but I'm really looking forward to that one.
George, any final words?
Happy New Year, everyone. It's a pleasure as always. I think Stephen's done a brilliant job in hosting tonight instead of Joe. So it's been a pleasure as always, and happy New Year. Happy New Year, everyone. It's been a pleasure as always.
Brilliant.
Steve, can you top that?
Yeah, well, yeah. Look. I want to firstly congratulate Jesper's dog for having a good nosh there, and but not making too much noise while he was doing so. So well done to the dog. What's his name, Jesper?
Ove. It's called OVE.
Over.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Very nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So well done, Over. You're a good boy. Look, just genuinely, what a great calendar year we've had. 2025 has been great to be a Millwall fan. Let's hope for more of the same in 2026. And Happy New Year to all our listeners. Obviously, like, subscribe, all the usual. Put some comments in, guys, in the YouTube afterwards. Put some comments in that we can reply to and comment on. And look, that all helps, doesn't it, Stephen, with the algorithms, etc., and just helps us raise more money for charity, which is what it's all about. £18,000 so far and rising. So thanks for all your support with that. Stephen, well done tonight. Yeah, I agree with George. Much better than Joe has been doing of recent. So that'll liven him up all right. But no, well done, mate, and Happy New Year to everybody.
Big fan of the mutiny in the camp. This will be brought up in the WhatsApp group shortly after the show is finished. But guys, I've got a couple of minutes to cram it all in. But as the boys have said, it's Millwall. We love the club. We all, different parts of the world, and we come together to talk about it. We're passionate fans first and foremost, and anything that comes alongside it is a bonus. But we've got a great group that do this, the listeners, you guys. We're nothing without you. Your comments and everything, all of your comments, we read all of them. The amount that gets screenshotted and put in the chat and people want to reply to and stuff, like, we do take it seriously and we do take on your feedback. So thank you very much for supporting us. As Steve said, please like, please subscribe. Everything we do goes to cancer research. We're well on the way to breaking the £20,000 mark, and it wouldn't be possible without you. Please do comment afterwards, share it with your friends. Do what I did. I went around Blue Water the other day and logged on to some of the PCs and went on the Chat with Chats videos to try and bump up the views a little bit more. I'm sure the guys in John Lewis were absolutely delighted with all the videos playing on all of their laptops in the show. But every little helps. Every little helps. And look, we do it. We have fun. We have a little bit of banter, but we do it for a serious cause. So thank you very much. As the guys said, 2025 has been very, very kind to the Lions. Could have been a little bit better. Didn't quite have enough this year to break it into the playoffs, but 2026 could be the year that the Lions finally break into that top six. And a little bit of a prediction for you all: if we make the playoffs, we make Wembley, and then who knows what's going to happen. That's where I'm going. Thank you very much as always. Like, subscribe, and share. Tell your friends, tell your nan, your granddad, anybody that will watch. We do it for a good cause, but we do it because we love the club. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you in 2026.
Hi, it's Steve Morrison here, and you're listening to Chat with Chaps, chatting Millwall, come rain or shine.